All right, today I'm going to try to give a really brief overview of how to invest in real estate. And there's kind of two main methods that are used a lot. I would say probably 90% of investors on the home investment side, like residential, are doing these two methods. And one is basically like the other, it just changes a little earlier. It branches off into a sale. But this will hopefully give you a really good idea of how you can invest in real estate using other people's money. And there's a lot more detail we could go into here, but this is kind of like the 1,000-foot view, if you will. So this is you, right? You found a home. You want to invest in a property. And you're going to look for a certain kind of property. So in general, you're looking for something that is distressed. It's in bad shape, but it has a lot of potential. It's in a good neighborhood. Or if it was fixed up properly, it would be a really nice home for a rental or something like that, right? So you could see, let's say you value this home for what you're trying to do at $40,000. Maybe that's not what they're asking, but you want to get it for $40,000, and it needs about $60,000 of work, all right, to get it to look nice again. But you could run comps is what they're called. You can look at the neighborhoods in the area, recent sales. Once though it's fully rehabbed, once it's fixed up and it's in great shape, it will actually be valued at $160,000. So you can get this kind of information from the internet and looking at similar homes in the area, in the neighborhood, recent sales. And this home, if it was fixed up properly, should be worth $160,000. And again, you're not really inflating your numbers. You're trying to give good, accurate numbers. What you do is you get the home under contract. Now, this is where one of the branches goes. This is called wholesaling. So far you haven't put any money down. Sometimes you might have to put some money down to get it under contract. It's called earnest money. It's like, hey, I really mean I'm going to buy this, and it's non-refundable. So sometimes that's the case. Once you have it under contract, if you are wholesaling properties, you can then sell that contract to an investor because these numbers are really good numbers. These numbers make a lot of sense. The investor has very, very low risk. They are going to do the rest of what we're going to show you anyway and not use their own money, and they'll be in a good financial position. So that is one thing, is you could sell this contract for a marked up price. So you could sell it for $8,000 or $10,000 to an investor. Now, let's say you're not doing that. Let's say you want to continue with this. So you get it under contract, meaning you have the right to buy this home usually in about 30 days, right? You can do inspections, you could do different things, but within 30 days, you have the right, and only you have the right to buy this home. That's what it means to get it under contract. All right. But you don't have any money. So what do? You go to a hard money lender, or this is a loan type, right? And hard money usually is short term. It's you can get private money and do the same kind of thing, but hard money lending usually is an institution or a lending institution. Sometimes banks will do this, but they will give you an 80%. LTV is loan to value, and it's this after repair value, that ARV. They'll give you 80% of that in a hard money loan. So up to, doesn't have to be, but up to $128,000 they will give to you. Now, they might have conditions where on the initial purchase, the $40,000, they might not give all of that $40,000 to you. They might want you to have some skin in the game. But you could borrow some of that. You could use a little bit of your own money if you need. Usually it's not much. And these loans do cost a little bit to set up. But what you can do, because if you add $40,000, the cost to purchase the home, the $60,000 to fix it up, that's only $100,000. This loan will give you up to $128,000. So you can often overborrow a little bit to cover extra costs, to cover even your interest that you're going to pay along the way on the hard money. And that's what we're going to do in this example. But that just gives you a little snippet. This project will actually only cost $100,000 to get it in great shape, but the hard money loan can go up to $128,000. So what do? for this example, you're going to take $110,000 hard money loan. So that will allow you to purchase it. So you've purchased the property. Now it's not under contract. You've purchased it. You now owe the hard money lender $110,000, and you have that $110,000. Now, technically, you've already spent some of that. You purchased the home. Now it needs $60,000 to renovate. So you renovate it. You make it nice. Now the home is worth $160,000. You've paid a company to do the renovation. You haven't lifted a hammer, right? Now you still owe $110,000. Some of it you might not have used all of your budget, right? You might still have $10,000 from the hard money loan, and you're paying interest either with your own money or the hard money loan, depending on how you're borrowing. Now you've got this really nice looking new home. It's rehabbed. It's maybe upgraded, whatever. You're going to put a renter in that home. Now that renter is going to pay you, or if you have a property management company, and this will rent for $1,600. Now, this should easily cover your interest payment to this hard money lender, but you put a renter in and you start getting cash flow. All right. Now, you still have an issue though. You still owe this hard money lender $110,000. You're getting some cash flow, but it will take you a while to pay him back. So what do? You go to the bank, right? This is all kinds of banks or lending institutions. It doesn't have to be a bank, but for this example, we'll use a bank. And you get a type of loan called a cash out refinance. So you go to the bank and say, hey, Mr. Bank person, sir, I have this asset. It's worth $160,000. It's in my name. And I've even got a renter paying me $1,600 a month. And they say, wow, that's great. We want a chunk of that. We will give you a mortgage. We'll basically buy part of your home from you and slowly sell it back to you. That's kind of what this is. So you do what's called a cash out refinance, and then it basically gives you a 30-year mortgage, and they will give you 80% loan to value. So again, it's worth $160,000. So they're going to give you a check for $124,000 to basically buy some of your property from you and slowly sell it back to you. Guess what? You also now have a mortgage. So this pity is it's basically your payment, your insurance, and your taxes, all kind of in one fee. You're going to be paying on something like this $860.20 each month. And then you'll have a property manager that'll cost you about $160 a month. Again, that's not an issue because you are actually bringing in $1,600 of rent. So you don't really worry about that. So now what happens? Now you probably spent that $110,000, right? You still owe the hard money lender $110,000, but now the bank just gave you a check for $124,000. Also, just so you know, cash out refinances are tax free. That's really nice. Tax free money is very hard to come by. And so when you do a cash out refinance, you get that money tax free. Now what? Well, you pay back your hard money lender with that money you got from the mortgage from the bank. So again, I'll just kind of recover. Basically, you have this asset now worth $160,000. You go to the bank and you say, hey, do you want to buy some of this asset from me? You will own part of it, but then you can slowly sell it back to me. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Here. And we're charging interest and stuff, so they're going to make money. And they cut you a check for $124,000. You take that $124,000 and you pay the hard money lender back all the borrowed money, even if it's, private lender, whoever. And then if there's a difference, you get to keep the difference. In this case, there's $14,000 still left over that you get to keep tax-free. But wait a minute. There's more to this story. All right. It's just getting juicy. You have $1,600 in rent. You're paying the bank for your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, $860.20 each month, and you're paying a property management company because you don't want to do any of the tenant management or anything like that. You're paying them $160 a month. You are cash flowing $579.80 each month on this property, right? So with a mortgage, you are making almost $580 a month. Now, that doesn't take into consideration if you have rent turnover or you have some repairs, so keep that in mind. And this is awesome. You now have $32,000 in equity in the home. What is equity? Equity is kind of like your home is functioning like a piggy bank. And inside of that home, you have the value of $32,000. That's yours. That's your money. If you were to sell the home, you would get that $32,000. That's essentially what the equity is. So look at this. And then on top of that, you have $14,000 still from the cash out refinance. Now, this would be a really great deal. It might not always work out just like this. These are real numbers, though. This isn't completely faked. This is an actual deal going through, and it's possible. But I just want to paint the picture of what you can do. And then, if you're an investor, you repeat. You just do this over and over and keep picking up rental properties. And if you go back here, in this deal, it might have taken 4 to 6 months, right, to do the rehab, the acquisition, to get the cash out refinance. It might take some time. But in this example, you essentially come out the other side not using any of your own money. You pay off all of your hard money loans. You do have a mortgage, but what's happening is now you picked up $580 of net cash flow every month. You basically just got that for free. You got $32,000 of equity for free for your time, 4 to 6 months. And you have $14,000. You made $14,000 in untaxed money from that cash out refinance. This is why this strategy is awesome. It works really well, and it picks up cash flowing properties for you, and it allows you to scale. Now, I mentioned that there are two main ways most people invest. This is kind of the full picture. If we back up, though, to the point where we got the property under contract and we fixed it up, right? Let's go back here. If you remember this, right? We were here, we borrowed the money. It needed $60,000 of fix up. You rehabbed it. Now it's worth $160,000. One of the most common things people will do is they'll just say, hey, I have this home worth $160,000. I'm going to sell it. I'm just going to sell it for $160,000. And then once it's sold, they repay that hard money lender. That's totally feasible too. That's a fix and flip. Essentially, that's all they're doing is they're selling it then to maybe a first-time home buyer or a small family. The downside to this can be a really helpful strategy. It helps you build some cash. But the downside is on the sale, let's say you actually make $40,000 because you have to pay a real estate agent. There's some taxes and fees. So let's say after you've paid everything, you've actually made $40,000. That $40,000 is taxed as income that year. That is kind of the downside. The only way that it's not is if you do something called a 1041 exchange. We'll get into that in another video. But so in that model, you are making practically maybe about $40,000, and you're going to probably lose about 20% of that to taxes. Unless you have some tax advantages, then it's possible. If you do the full process, this is essentially what this is called is the BRRRR method. If you do the full BRRRR method, though, you get more than $40,000 technically. You get $32,000 in home equity, and you get the $14,000 outside. Like you could spend that. You could do whatever you want. All of that, so far at least, is tax-free, and you get the rental income, the net rental income of almost $580 a month. And now you have this property that's going to grow in value. As the renter pays down your mortgage, you slowly earn more and more of that back. You're basically the renter is kind of slowly depositing more money into that equity of your home as they pay down the mortgage. You get tax advantages from this. And as the market grows, the value of the home grows, you get to keep that. That home growth value, you get to hang on to that and use that later. So this is a really brief example of how to do what's called the BRRRR method. It's fix, flip, and hold. It's kind of the full picture of how most people are buying and investing in real estate. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If you have questions, reach out to me. Let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. Have a good day, and I hope you guys have some success with this.